Imagine being so tall that you spend your life being displayed in a circus. Or you're so tall that when you ride a horse, your feet still drag on the ground. This list is full of people with unbelievable height that shocked the world. In our number 5 spot today, we have Robert Wadlow. Robert was born on February 22nd, 1918, and although he was an average size at birth, by age 5 he was already 5'4". His huge appetite had him consuming 8,000 calories a day. He had trouble walking because of his fast growth, and this required him to have braces on his legs as well as use a walking stick. In 1940, Robert received a new leg brace that didn't fit properly, and just 1 week later this brace caused a blister. But this blister went on to become really infected. This infection very sadly went on to take Robert's life at the early age of just 22 years. In our number 4 spot today, we have Anna Haining Bates. Anna was born in Nova Scotia in August 1846, and by the time she was 22 years old, she was already standing at a height of 7'6". At age 16, Anna went into show business. 1865 had a frightening moment at Barnum's Museum when it caught fire and she was too tall to escape through a window. She was saved when employees broke the wall and she was lifted out with a crane. In 1871, Anna met another super tall person named Martin Van Buren Bates and were often exhibited at circuses as the tallest married couple in the world. And in our number 3 spot today, we have Joseph Edward Beaupre. Joseph's parents were average height, so of course they were shocked when, by age 9, their son had already outgrown them. At the age of 17, he stood at 7'1" and is said to have been able to lift an 800-pound horse. By the time 1904 rolled around, Joseph was 8'3", and he tried to become a cowboy, but realized this probably wasn't the career for him, considering his feet touched the ground while he was riding a horse. At 21, he joined the circus, but as one can imagine, this took quite a toll on him, and it is said that he was also dealing with tuberculosis at the time, which is just crazy. Sadly, the story takes quite a dark turn as, at age 23, after a performance and after coughing up blood, Joseph went unconscious and never woke up again. The circus refused to pay his burial expenses, and his father was unfortunately too poor to afford it, which meant that his body remained with the undertakers, who began displaying it in store windows and museums. Joseph's body would remain with people who never should have had it in the first place until 1989, over 80 years after his death, when it was finally released to his surviving family members, who then cremated it. In our number 2 spot today, we have Patrick Cotter O'Brien. Patrick was born in Ireland in January of 1760, and he grew to be 8'1", which made him one of the first people to be known to grow past 8 feet tall. At 18 years old, he began working as a bricklayer because he didn't need a ladder to reach the top of the cottages like the rest of those he worked with. Like many people on this list, Patrick found himself in a life of show business where he just called himself O'Brien. It is said that he had to travel around in a carriage that was made specifically for him because of his size, and one day when this carriage was pulled over by a highwayman, when this guy saw Patrick, he ran the other way because he was terrified of his large stature. Sadly, Patrick's size took quite a toll on his body and eventually led to his death, which occurred on September 8th, 1806, when Patrick was 46 years old. In our number 1 spot today, we have Arthur Cayley. Arthur was born in Sulby, Isle of Man in 1824, and while for the beginning of his life he was average size, in his late teens he suddenly began to grow quite tall, reaching a height of 7'11" and earning the nickname Manx Giant. Arthur was on display at many exhibits because of his height, and he traveled to places like Manchester, London, and Paris, but suddenly he disappeared. His mother explained that he had passed away and that he was already buried, but people were suspicious because it is said that just a few weeks earlier, his life was insured for $2,000. We still see it today, people committing insurance fraud, so it's not really that far-fetched of an idea, and here's what really happened. Arthur was not dead. He instead had traveled to the United States to join P.T. Barnum's circus. During his time in the circus, he was marketed as Colonel Routh Goshen, the Arabian Giant. It wasn't until his true death in 1889 that his previous life as the Manx Giant was revealed and the whole story was complete.